Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we've got probably one of the weirdest deck builds I've ever made, and especially, it's Eva Prison. DSET 5 has about to release at the time of the and I won't get it for the actual date. But while looking through all the cards released, I kind of came to the realization of there's not really any cards that facilitate the game plan that Eva wants to run. I say wants because this deck is kind of incomplete. For a deck that wants to rely on research, only getting one and only able to run four of that one is kind of a mess. So I've kind of come up with I like to call the copium deck build, which is Eva Prison build. First off, I'm gonna say right now, this deck is not. This is more of a conceptual build more than an actual build because I have no idea if any of these cards are this is actually a good idea or not. Nor am I sure if I've even chosen the right prison card. So we kind of get into it. So we start off by talking about the prison. Why the prison? Because the prison is a grade 1 order that can be searched thanks to Cyanide Blue. Cyanide Blue is pretty much our right deck as well as Reset Pink because, well, pretty much in order to get the prison you kind of need the grade 1, and because grade 2 Eva needs the grade 1 to be able to ride on, it's actually kind of so having the grade 1, having Cyanide be able to search out the prison allows the deck to actually be active faster because you have an order to play, because you now have an actual turn to play, allowing for the order to a prison order to actually be played, meaning now you actually have kind of like a small little control build going on, which I think is actually pretty cool. And plus the whole real goal is to kind of facilitate getting Skade as active to get his 10k as early as possible. He's basically our big beater. Being 18k is alright, but having to be 3k for tax is actually good. Especially when corner rides and he just becomes your big beat. Plus he only needs set orders to be actually active. He only needs set orders to actually get his 10k. The research restriction only applies to calling him and hitting his crit, which isn't really a big payoff. Everything else works without the, so it's more so like, let's kind of let's not focus on the research and rather focus on getting set orders going. So with that, oh yeah, that's faster. Talk about it in a second. So that's pretty much the main idea of the deck, though. So going into like little key cards that did come out in this set, Fanta Red, being a Soul Blast 1 cycle game +5, makes your turn 2 and onwards like attack turns actually more active. And this is very important. The cycle is actually more important than it looks because we are not running the actual order in the ride line that searches the way they searches specifically. Our main goal now is to do everything we can to find these researches as possible. So that's why Fanta Ray is actually this combo. If it weren't for the fact that I'm still kind of like working out whether the lineup, prison lineup is actually like the way I want it to be, so that's one thing. And if we go to the prison thing, in the prison, Accused Malachi is in here because 15k and 2 thanks to Got Pain and top card. I'm still not sure if this actual like prison card I want to run. I'm kind of like debating between actual grade 2 from the start deck or grade 2 set one as to whether or not these are better options. Please let me know. Right, let's make this a kind of talk and debate on whether or not we should do it. So that's also like 24 hours pretty much there to be a hand ripper, pretty good hand ripper, and you need the ability to punch through your opponents as hard as possible for having attackers. So that's why 24 hours is doing that. And last but not least, we kind of look at the Penguin Tartan. Tartan is a good card for the idea concept of the deck. Start him, pick top 5, search for set order, add to hand. Being able to turn like a kind of negative play into at very least a going even play, especially the one that facilitates your game plan. Deck that really kind of like, you know, it's kind of minds us a lot until you actually get to Eva is pretty necessary and turns kind of like those drop and draw cards with Phantom Ray actually in your set. Yeah, sure. You know, let's talk about the order. The order is not good. If we're being completely honest, a order that more so a draw and drop and needs all three in order to find cards isn't really like that exciting. Honestly, it's pretty sad. But thanks to Tartan, we can actually like try and get it as fast as possible. So with that, I'm gonna go into the actual deck, and that is first off we're going to talk about our group 3. Eva pretty much is, you know, your main card of the deck. You run 4 because Soda Rides, Soul, the sec. Even with all the soul charges, you have the prison. You have you got the prison. You have the base ride line. You have crits. You Gold Mine. This deck still runs through. Honestly, has more of a soul problem than the counterblast problem, which is the weirdest part about it. Because Eva uses soul to call out Obfuscate. Phantom Ray uses soul to Battery's ability. The order uses soul when you had 3. Like, the amount of soul kind of just like the amount of soul blast on Acolyte and 24 hour. There's so many like soul skills that like you need as much soul as possible. So obviously running 4 besides Persona Ride is pretty much to also keep the soul going. The ability to kind of like just kind of like combo 1 for plus, and that scales is nice, but it's okay. Really, it's not like Chaos. Like Chaos has probably the better skill of these, which is just fair with a top 3 soul hand field. So that's kind of the main. Obfuscate is a attempting to beater. We have all the finisher. And his crits that he's like big and a crit, both big bulky crit that is hard to guard. I've already talked about 24 hour and use Malcolite. 24 hours there to just far from your opponent's hand, and it can give power. Very rarely it's going to. Use Malcolite is there to take the top part of your opponent's deck. Probably attempt to kind of like diffuse their attempt at top decking. Tartan, pretty much there to search for the orders. Phantom Ray is draw and drop +5. Allows the deck to kind of work. I've already talked about the order. It's not great, but it's if you want to actually play this deck in game plan, you need to see it as fast as possible. You need to see it as fast as possible and get all the available chances to get it. Talk about the ride line. Cannot blues there, search the prison, give soul charge engine. that pink's there to rip a card from your hand. Prison's there for soul charge, whatever. 4 PGs because you need the 4 PGs, especially the set 1 PGs, because you run out. You actually do kind of run out of hand early. So on the off chance you just get hard rushed, you need to be able to like defend yourselves as possible. And we got the 2 bowling lines because soul charge and counter charge. Pretty much it. As for trigger lineup, you have your over trigger because the over trigger is busted. You have the 3 front triggers and the 4 crits. I'll explain to you. The 3 front triggers are pretty much here for the shield value. Again, like I said, because it's that kind of like doesn't really plus. You need as many like you need as much shield value as you can without like messing up your lineup. And the front triggers really get your pretty much your main like line is to attack with a rear first, then attack with the call obfuscate, then get the twin drive, meaning you can actually just like drive into a front trigger that's probably more active. What is that? 4 crits are there because their ability to go into soul. And like I said, this deck has a soul problem. Crits actually good. 4 heals. I'm just running the Korean heals because that's it. And then lastly, the 4 draw triggers. Like I said, you need to get into your research as fast as possible, and this also helps. Also, like I said, you also have shield, so having probably a higher shield value, which draws is better. Of course, they are. So from kind of like going through and kind of like testing this deck a bit, like I've said before, the deck has a soul issue. The deck has a soul issue. You just burn through the soul a lot. Thankfully, it's not like you're just like burning through 8 cards of soul, but it's still kind of your game plan is very gated on getting your. Even with the original one, you at least got 2, but you weren't active until like turn 4 at the early. So that's kind of a thing. I'm not sure about the prison like cards to add in there. I had like a original build I want to do, like have them instead. And yeah, this deck like goes even or minus basically. To get to their actual win con, and yeah, that could. Thankfully, Tartan is. If Tartan was not in this set, the deck will be on. Pretty much. Yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think. What could I do to replace some cards and change things up for the kind of concept? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.